I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Marie, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Barbara.
Here.
Councilmember Patel. Vice Chair Bennett.
His plane is tentative.
Councilmember Buchanan.
Right here.
Councilmember Duffy.
Here.
Councilmember Loftus.
Here.
Councilmember Key.
Here.
Councilmember Stone.
Present.
Councilmember Thomas.
Here.
Mayor Cronin.
Present.
Administrator Tucker.
Here.
And Attorney Allison.
All right, my first order of business. Very pleasant to be conducting this evening. I'd like to have appointment and give them both to a couple of new employees. Can I ask Christina Wilson to please step forward? We're going to meet in the middle. He's going to present you with a little Bible. There you go. Repeat after me. I, Christina Wilson, do solemnly swear that I am duly qualified, according to the ordinances of the City of Isle of Province, to perform the duties of the position to which I have been selected, and that I will, to the best of my abilities, discharge the duties thereof, so help me God. Thank you. Welcome. City Councilor from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Out of the Sun Country. And she used to work for Verizon. She's here with her husband and a 3-year-old son. Welcome. We'll keep her busy, okay? All right, thank you again. We have one more tonight. Lynn Golden, please step forward. I know you've been waiting for this. We're going to do the same thing. I, Lynn Golden, do solemnly swear that I am duly qualified, according to the ordinances of the City of Isle of Province, to perform the duties of the position to which I have been selected, and that I will, to the best of my ability, discharge the duties thereof, so help me God. It's done. All right, next order of business, reading a journal of previous meeting minutes. May I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes of January 25th, 2011?
So moved.
Moved. Any corrections, additions? None heard?
Yeah, there actually is one. I think we want to change the 52nd to 57th drainage project at 53rd to 57th.
Duly noted.
Thank you.
That minor change, do I have a second on the motion?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Now it's my pleasure to get into citizens' comments. And before we allow everybody to come forward, I'm going to invite one gentleman to come forward and meet me in front of the podium. That is Mr. Guy Taylor. He's here in mass. Hi. Is there anybody here who doesn't know Guy? I'm going to read a proclamation. This is going to be an endurance test. It goes on forever. You want to hold it? You hold that while I hold this and read it. I know your eyes cover sense. This is a proclamation honoring Guy Taylor. Whereas Guy Taylor volunteered his time in town for the betterment of the city for a period of 24 years. First on the Planning Commission, on the Board of Zoning Appeals. Whereas Guy Taylor was originally appointed to the Planning Commission on January 14th, 1987. Think about where you were. Mr. Taylor's first meeting, the Planning Commission was reclassified from an ad group to a permanent commission, making him one of the Isle of Palms' first commissioners in that organization. Whereas Guy Taylor's service on the Planning Commission lasted 10 years, from 87 to 96. And in 88, Mr. Taylor's peers elected him vice chair, and again in 90, 91, 92, 96, Mr. Taylor's peers elected him chair. Whereas in the first years of the Planning Commission's work as a permanent body, the commission received multiple Wild Dune subdivision requests every month, meaning that Guy Taylor helped to oversee much of the development of Wild Dune, Isle of Palms landmark. Whereas in 1989, the Planning Commission recommended the first subdivision regulation to establish a cleaner, more efficient process for those property owners wanting to subdivide their property. Whereas on September 21st, getting too heavy for it? September 21st, 1989, Yugo devastated the Isle of Palms, and the Planning Commission's role in the rebuilding and recovery of the island was essential. The commission, whose membership was island residents, whose homes and lives were personally affected by the hurricane, undertook a revamping of the entire zoning code with much effort to put into a non-conforming statute to be fair to those islanders who had sustained major damage. Whereas Guy Taylor's service to the Board of Zoning Appeals lasted 14 years, from 97 to 2010. From 2004 to 2010, Mr. Taylor's peers continually represented the chair of that board. Whereas Guy Taylor's work on the Board of Zoning Appeals, the quasi-judicial body, consisted of hearing 317 cases in which a decision had to be made in accordance with the city's code of variances, special exceptions, and appeals from the zoning administrator's determination. Whereas Guy Taylor, along with his wife Laura, with his two sons, one daughter on the Isle of Palms, Kurt Taylor, City of North Charleston council member, and Charleston County deputy mayor, D. Taylor, an Isle of Palms councilman for 16 years, and Melinda Gowdy. Whereas in addition to his appointment to the commissions, Guy Taylor always paid attention to the civic activities, often being a standout citizen present at budgets and other public hearings. You were noted. So therefore, be it proclaimed on this day, February 22nd, 2011, Guy Taylor's unparalleled record of volunteer service, his sacrifice of countless hours of personal time, and his expertise cultivated through extended service are recognized by this council and as an extraordinary gift granted to the citizens of the island by a man of great distinction. It is my pleasure to sign the proclamation in your behalf, put it in a proud place of honor.
Represent my Army district.
Wished he could be here, but sends his great regards, and you can read that at your leisure. He's making big decisions.
I was going to make a remark. I intended not to make a video and say thank you, and then try to get out of the door without it hitting me on this. But it might be of interest to those of you that are new to the island, and even to my three substitute sons out there. That when we first moved back to the island in the spring of 1985, I noticed there were a lot of strange things going on. In fact, as we were trying to get our plans developed to remodel our house, I found that there were no restrictions. So I went to the then mayor and asked him when the planning commission met. I had some experience with that for a year. And he said, well, we don't have one. And I said, why? And I was thinking about what y'all are going to be faced starting tomorrow night. He said, all the planning's already been done. Thank you.
He's out of here. He's done his time, right?
Sit down.
You know, people often ask me if I'm having fun in this role. Tonight was fun.
Right. That is the
We're still in the subject on our agenda of citizens' comments, so if there's anyone here who would like to speak, that's a hard act to follow, I realize, but we're open and willing to hear from any citizen. Going, gone, none heard. Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on with our agenda then. We have reports from standing committees. We'll move into the Ways and Means Committee, which I have the pleasure on reporting on. Ways and Means Committee met at 5:45 on Tuesday the 15th. I can't remember who all was present. I think Barb was home sick. Michael was off sunning himself, and Sandy was excused. You were in Columbia, weren't you?
Yes.
Working for our betterment, I suspect. We heard from our treasurer, and through the month of January, we're in good financial shape. Our target on our budget is to be on expenditures to be at 58%, and we're at 52%. That's roughly 10% below our expenditure budgeting. So we continue to trend in that direction. It's a good progress so far through 7 months, and I expect we'll continue through the rest of the year. We had good news that since the end of January, we have received 2 major payments from the property tax and from the county, and we are right now 90% collected on our budgeted property tax. So we are anticipating meeting our budget on property tax, which has had a lot of people nervous for the last couple of years, frankly. That should come in line. Expenditures were fairly in line as far as what we spent money on, and as I indicated, the revenue is basically on target for where we were the same period last year. We are, from the treasurer's standpoint, investigating contracting out with an armored service the actual collection counting of the coins and bills that we take in at the parking meters. That's a large obligation right now, and it's a lot of money. We'd like to have a bonded, protected agency do that as long as it's not cost prohibitive, so we're investigating that at present. On our tourism-related activities, the state accommodations tax, we've received another payment, so for the first 6 months of the fiscal year, we're 9.5% ahead of where we were at the same period last year. On our municipal accommodations tax, we're actually running 19% ahead of where we were in the prior year. We've not heard anything yet from the county, which I expect we will be hearing from shortly, and we are collectively lobbying the county to return to their distribution plan that they had, they changed 2 years ago. We're asking them to return to that plan, which would return our county distribution back to the level where it had been back in 07 and early 08. The hospitality tax, February looks to be down. We are actually still 9% ahead of where we were in FY10. So from a tourism-related income standpoint, we are at or ahead of anything we've seen in the past. Our projects are well funded. I'll come back to most of them here. The City Hall renovation is moving on. We've had no changes in that regard. We did have a presentation from Coastal Science Engineering dealing with the beach monitoring and the status of the shoal management. Stephen Trainham from that organization presented to us a PowerPoint presentation giving us a capsule version. We don't have the final report yet, but his initial take on the last 6-month monitoring, which would have been September of 2010. He presented the fact that on the focused area, March through September 2010, the monitoring, it looks like things have been stable for that period of time. So that doesn't mean it's not going to change, but at least for the 6 months, it held its ground. From a monitoring standpoint, just for everybody's benefit, it was impressive to me that we do an entire island monitoring. They do 100 individual monitoring stations that cover lengthwise up to 220 miles of full survey back and forth. They go as far as 3 miles offshore to look at the sand conditions, particularly in the erosional zones, which is on either end of the island. So that is really telling us quite a bit, and keeps us hopeful that sand is moving in our direction. The project, in particular, where we had the replenishment, 86% of the design volume still remains in place. It's 72% of the actual volume that was put in there. Don't get hung up on the numbers, but it was 86% of design volume. And it's still looking stable, as I indicated before, for the last period of time. So we'll have the complete report here shortly, and we'll make that available probably on our website, or to anybody else that's interested can contact us. And the PowerPoint that we heard the other day is already on there, giving you the top-level view, if you will. We had no new business, but I can report on old business, but on the new business, I would like to proceed on with a recommendation from the Real Property Committee for the award of a contract to GEL Engineering in the amount of $50,865, which doesn't include sediment testing or disposal fees, simply because we don't know if that's really necessary yet, for the engineering and design and permitting of the marina dredging. I'd like to make that in the form of a motion.
So moved.
Do I have a second? I hear a second? I heard a second. Okay. It's a bidding war here. This is for the engineering, as I indicated, design and permitting of the marina dredging. GEL was the low bidder. We had 3 very competent bids that were difficult a lot of material to go through, and it was difficult to pick a winner, frankly. And we picked the low bidder, which is always a good thing to do. GEL is a well-experienced and well-versed company. So, any discussion on that motion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None heard. Thank you. So we'll be moving on with our marina effort, at least from a design and permitting standpoint. Hopefully, in the near future, we can talk more fully about actually the timing and execution of that. In addition, we made a motion at Ways and Means for the replacement of an air conditioning unit at the cardio room at the rec center, and that was for the expenditure of $2,750 to replace the cardio room air conditioner. I'd like to make a motion to approve that expenditure. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Barb, you can just nod your head. It'd be quite acceptable. Barb is still suffering, but we'll take nods. We can watch for that. Right? Okay. Thank you. That motion passes, and we'll now have air conditioning for those who wish to use the cardio room, which is a good thing to have if you're going to use the cardio room. We have also on our agenda the contract for 53rd to 57th Avenue Drainage Project. As you know, that has been bid. We had 16 parties that were interested. Initially, we had 7 actually submit bids to us, but this time last week, I guess it was. And I'll turn over to the city administrator, who now has a recommendation from our engineering firm who's done the evaluation.
The recommendation from Civil Site Environmental is to award the project to Edie's Construction, who was the low bidder on the project. They met with Edie's, they reviewed the bids, found nothing out of order, and the amount of the contract award is $797,000, which is well within the budget that we had for the project.
Very good. I'll make that in the form of a motion.
I'll second that.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion? I was very pleased with having received 7 very competent bids, very closely contested, and Edie's passed the test, and the bid is acceptable, and I see no reason why not to continue on. So.
I'll make one comment,
Right.
Commissioner. I'd like to give kudos to the to the council for saving money up for this project and not have to go out and get bonds or anything and to procure a project of this. I mean, $750,000 is that we're able to save over many years.
Well, thank you. To your point, I can't remember how far back, but it's at least 5 years, and maybe 6 or 7.
I think it was back
2000.
2003.
Started in 2000?
Yeah.
2000.
Yeah, it was when.
And we've been appealing to really anybody that listens to us who can grant money, and they grant it to us, and we squirrel it away, and we've been spending it judiciously, first on the engineering phase, and now we'll be doing the implementation phase. But frankly, it takes, I don't believe, any city money. It's all planning
grant money.
and grant money from transportation. And authority. So we have other projects coming down the pike, notwithstanding all the other avenues that need drainage work. And so I think this will be a success for us, but also a success for the funding agencies, because they'll be pleased with having seen how their money is spent. So thank you, Ryan. Any other comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None heard. These will be moving on. Well, I was going to ask, do we have any idea when they can mobilize and start work, but I'll wait till we have another meeting. Now that they've been awarded the contract, it's a little premature to get into that. We went through with our Ways and Means meeting, what we call our capital budgeting and long-range planning, where the city administrator went through I have about 7 pages of notations here in the minutes. I encourage you, if you can't sleep at night, this will put you to sleep. But it's a first pass at both capital budget for next year and looking further on as far as what our capital needs are when equipment expires or roads need to be resurfaced or whatever. So we have things in sight down the road. We may move them at times for the lack of funds or things in either direction. If things wear out or move further on. But it's a good plan, and it's just the start of the budgeting cycle. It's like the birds of spring have arrived. We have the capital budget initiative, and now we're going to move into the operating budgets over this next month, and each of the departments will be working with the administrator and deal with each committee, and so the budgeting cycle has been kicked off. It's a race to the finish here, so we'll see where that goes. So. And we set a date for March 15th for our next meeting, and I hope everyone can find time on the calendar to come see us. We enjoy anybody who wishes to come and speak with us. Any other comments, questions? All right. Moving away from Ways and Means, I'd like to ask Public Safety to be addressed by Michael. I think you're going to take it on.
I'm up.
And Marty's behalf.
Thank you, Mayor. I understand Marty's delayed in Detroit, and he is taking a carriage ride with his wife. So,
Okay.
Public Safety met on February 8th. All members were present. Basically, the agenda was went through the city alarm ordinance, and that was passed. And what that is designed to do is give some relief to our fire department as far as manning and managing a vacant building that doesn't have anyone there to show alarms. So this is something that's going to free our public safety folks up to allow them to take care of other duties and more pressing needs. That was passed unanimously, and it's been forwarded to City Council. Also, there was an amendment made to the short-term rental business application. That's also designed to provide more information for emergency contact for our police and fire in case there is a problem with that. So, under new business, there was a consideration for a zoning ordinance for the 200-foot communications tower. City Council has been challenged with providing proper communication for our public safety folks, and this is the answer part of the Charleston County network, and that is up for consideration by council. Also, there was a discussion on right-of-way parking on 3rd Avenue. Basically, the concern where it's unsafe, where that intersection is being blocked and becomes a safety issue for residents. And Chief Buchanan will be following up and getting back to public safety about that. Public Safety also had a long, lengthy review of capital plans for next year's fiscal budget and for long-term needs. So that's, again, I'll follow the mayor's lead, and it's on the internet. Enjoy it. Have fun with it. All right. In the fire department, special items. Obviously, everyone knows we had our fire department respond very well to a fire on Ocean Boulevard, and it's important to note, and that was on January 9th, important to note that smoke detectors were a key part of this being successful, and thank goodness we were able to contain it, and the city did a phenomenal job with it, and they deserve a pat on the back, which we've already commented on. In the police department, Chief Buchanan brought up a problem of an email scam where people are being asked to send money for an emergency and to give that money to Western Union. And once that money is deposited in Western Union, the money is gone. So just to alert citizens and residents that there's a lot of scam artists out there, and they're using the internet, and so be careful out there when you're sending money to someone. At the end of the meeting, Mr. Owens presented, we changed the agenda to allow citizen comments, and Mr. Owens asked the city about maintaining a database for emergency contacts on a long-term resident being away. And the city does have a special patrol request program where you could call the police and let them know you're away, and they will literally show up on the house on a regular basis, walk around the property, make sure it's secure. So I urge residents to take advantage of this service provided by our police department. And also Mr. Owens commented about the public forum, which is scheduled for tomorrow, which we'll discuss a little bit later, Mayor, that about emergency vehicles having access to property. And that's it. Our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, March 2nd at 5:30.
Very good. Any questions for public safety? Thank you very much. Moving on, Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Public Works met on Wednesday, February 2nd at 4 p.m. All council members were present. Director Pitts and his crew are continuing to do their job at keeping the island clean, and I want to thank them again for all the hard work that they do. We had an update on the drainage projects, which pretty much included, at that time, just going out for bid for this project. So between that committee meeting and today, we have finally awarded it. That might be a land speed record for council business. But in addition to the 53rd to 57th project, which you all know is now awarded, we had an update on the Loudon project, which is being done by the county and is continuing. Actually, I think it's getting close to being finished up there. And that the Sparrow Drive drainage project is still under planning with the county, and we're anticipating some feedback from them shortly with regards to that. We also discussed an ordinance that we're going to be looking at later in this meeting, which is in regards to trash collection, a change to our trash collection ordinance, which has been spurred on by, if you all read the paper, the county has said that they will no longer accept plastic bags for yard debris. I think the date is in June, if I'm not mistaken. So we're going to be having first reading for that ordinance. That was something that we discussed and passed unanimously as a committee. And then, of course, we did our due diligence on our FY12 capital budget. And I'm not going to repeat what everybody else has said. Our next meeting is scheduled for March 2nd. On Wednesday at 4 p.m.
Very good. Any questions for Public Works? Nothing. Very good. There was some indication before, and maybe Tony, about our trash, our household collections being down over a series of months. Could we graph that and show folks what that is trending to be? I don't think we shared it with everybody on council.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, just so, I mean, I know it's been mentioned, but with the data, it'd be interesting to see. So that's what
Your
it is.
graph. Sure, we'll get that.
Okay. All right, nothing else for Public Works. Let's move on to the Recreation Committee. Barb will nod her head,
But I will be
Brian
speaking
will do
for
the speaking.
as Vice Chairman. The Recreation Committee met on Tuesday, February 1st at 4 p.m. and all members were present. Director Page went through the monthly activities for January, and as always, the Rec Center has had a full schedule. And I think items of note for the residents looking forward are that we have auditions for Peter Pan coming up on Tuesday, March 22nd. We just finished having the middle school dance this past weekend. That was a very positive turnout. Over 200 middle schoolers showed up. So they're dancing these days. That's a good thing. Other items to look forward to. in March. We have a half rubber tournament coming up the 27th and 28th of March. And I think one of the biggest events for the rec center every year, and it's Doggy Days at the rec. And that will be this Saturday, starting at 9 a.m. Thank you, Norma Jean. The committee went through the capital budgets like we did at the other committee meetings, and details are available in print. That's pretty much it. Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Any questions for the rec? Once more, we're entering spring with a full slate. This is very good. So, thank you. Personnel Committee.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the Personnel Committee got together on Tuesday, February 1st, and the first item that we talked about was the election of a new chair and vice chair. Councilman Member Pining nominated Councilmember Thomas, that's me, to serve as the chair of the committee for 2011. Councilman Vitelli seconded, and I was unanimously elected as the chair. Councilmember Pining then nominated Councilman Vitelli to serve as vice chair. Councilman Thomas seconded, and no additional nominations, and he was unanimously elected Councilmember Vitelli as the vice chair. The minutes for the January 5th meeting were approved and unanimously passed. There were no citizens' comments. We got into some old business with the appointment of an ad hoc committee for water quality study. Administrator Tucker related that the committee's request, the formation of the committee had been advised on the website, and 10 people volunteered to serve, which I think was quite a turnout. So we have now a list of 12 people. It was provided in the meeting packet. Administrator commented that Toby Van Buren, who had initiated the project, would be a member of the committee, and he had requested that a member of council also participate. So I would like to solicit the council. Anybody who would like to participate can see me after this meeting, and we'll get you signed up.
If nobody volunteered, you and I will draft somebody.
Okay. I don't know how familiar people are with this, but the overall issue is we have some oyster beds that are being closed because of pollution, and it's a major concern because we all love oysters.
Before you go on, you just said the magic word. Who was fishing off? Were they collecting oysters out in the marsh? They were in Hamlin. There were 4 boats. They were all clamming. Thank you. Proceed on.
I don't know.
I was concerned. I said, you see 4 boats and they're saying no oysters. I was hoping they weren't, doing oyster.
Well, I don't know.
Collections.
Better be careful the oysters you're eating.
Donnie thinks they're clamming out there.
All right, Councilman Meany moved that we approve the list of volunteers and Toby Van Buren to serve as an ad hoc on an ad hoc committee to the start of the water quality, and was seconded. And was the committee discussed the possibility the committee have too many people, but it seems that there may be some need for some subcommittees, so that too many people will may be absorbed very nicely. The motion passed unanimously. Councilman Pining then moved to recommend decreasing the subjective portion of the administrator's evaluation from 30% to 15% for the 2011 evaluation. Councilman Vitelli seconded, and the motion passed unanimously. This year's appraisal is 70-30, 70% subjective and 30% objective. We then got into
It's reversed today.
Pardon?
70%
Objective.
Did I mess that up again? Yeah. Let's come back.
We understand.
70% objective, 30% subjective. Okay. And I guess I'm not sure how to do this officially.
Do you want to make that? You want to make that in the form of a motion to
Yes.
change the?
Yes, I'd like to make that in the form of a motion.
Make it 85%.
85%
15%
objective and
subjective.
15%
Do we have a
subjective.
motion? Do we have a second? Second. And seconded. Any discussion? should ask Lynn.
With that.
She's got to vote.
I'm good with that.
She was at the meeting.
I think our hope is that the administrator's evaluation is finished, and we'll be presenting it to her. As usual, she did very well. And she agrees we'd like to decrease the subjective part. We could take it to 15%, and hopefully next year actually take it to 0. Because it includes a lot of things that, for example, just do you have a good appearance? Are you on time? Are you well organized? I think those are given for someone in this position, and it's kind of a waste of our time to be doing that. So.
All right, we have a motion and second. Sounds like a good idea. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving ahead.
All right, then we also got into the budget, and this was for basically our portion of it is the general government and building department budget, and a lot of detail here that people can read through. Something that doesn't appear on the minutes, but does appear on our minutes here, that the January safety sweepstakes winners are the building department, William Searbrook, Public Works, Russell Roper, Fire Department, Dana Burnett, and Police Department, Tracy Mize, is it?
Very good.
Our next meeting is going to be at 5:45, Tuesday, March 1st.
Thank you. The only comment I have is on our water quality. I don't think we have too many people. I mean, that's a concern for the committee. Among other things, two of the 10 that you said are residents on Sullivan's Island.
Yeah.
So while it does affect Sullivan's Island also, and I have no idea if they're putting their own committee together, I'm pleased to embrace people from Sullivan's Island if they want to help us solve our island's problem, if we have a problem in our water. And this is going to take a long time to work through. So people will come and people will go, I suspect, on this committee before we're fully situated. So, rambling somewhere. So
I guess one last point is anybody on council would like to be a member of this committee?
I think Marty
Would.
should be.
Marty? No, I'll volunteer.
all right, we'll, Barb has put her hand up. She actually spoke, but I'm not sure if I heard. I'd like to have council endorse this body of folks that have volunteered, not just the personnel committee. So I'd like to move that this slate of individuals who have served as volunteers on our water quality ad hoc committee be confirmed by council. Do I have a
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any further discussion?
Who will they be reporting to?
Well, that's a very good question. They should not come back just to council, and since it's a water quality issue, probably the real property committees. I would naturally.
Public Works.
Public Works.
That's where the first one was.
Well, the initial presentation was at Public Works.
All right, so we'll have this committee report to Public Works. So that'll be good. So, all right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Good, none heard. Moving on, thank you very much. Real Property Committee, Michael.
All right, thank you, Mayor. The Real Property Committee met on Thursday, February 3rd. All members were present of the committee. As far as new business, the update on the beach restoration program. Just to give everyone in the audience and hopefully those out there in IT land, just to update people on this. And the results of the monitoring program in the project area indicate that overall project areas have retained 72% of the volume gained and 86% of the depth value. In summary, the studies indicate that the period between March and September of 2010, most areas north of 53rd Street have been very stable and has worked very well for the city. This is part of the program as far as the beach restoration. We have applied for permitting. That process is ongoing. One of the things that needs to be done is we need to be notified by DHEC of the public comments and time for the city to respond appropriately to that. So that is where we stand in that. Next on the agenda was the request for dredging. GEL Engineering, which we have already approved that, have come together, and they were selected primarily because they have in-house capabilities where other parties involved would have to go outside to get help, and we really feel that the city will be able to manage this problem more better. The big question with the dredging problem, the marina, is going to be the spoil site where we will take it. And previously, dredging, we used Goat Island. This site was damaged at some point, and we are in the process of trying to get that resolved, and who will be handling that expense to get that up to standards for DHEC. Next item was the Marina Manager's Report. Brian Bergen indicated that business at the marina has been extremely slow, and he's appealed that residents to, please help out a little bit. Stop by, get a tank of gas, come in, buy a soda or whatever, and support our local business. And it's peak times in July, August, the business does very well, but, the important thing is to let's support our city businesses. Moving along. On the Morgan Creek Grill, only issue is that there is a light from SC&G that there's having some problems with, and they are in the process of dealing with that. One of the things we've looked at and has been proposed in the past for some type of monument or some type of art to honor past members of city council and members of commissions. And one thing was brought up is a possible using our engraved brick program to recognize people who volunteer and serve the city. So Linda and her team are looking into that and see if that's a viable option, a cost-effective option to do two things: obviously keep our costs in line, and also recognize people that go above and beyond the duty to serve the city. We also attacked budgets on that group, and that's an ongoing process, and we'll be reporting back as we get things done. Under old business, we had a presentation of Mr. Poach about electric car charging stations. Looking at that with new vehicles being introduced, like the Chevy Volt and the new Nissan, it's important to be able to provide just some investigation right now, but provide a way for visitors who would come to the island, who would come and enjoy a service, who basically hook up so they can come in, enjoy the island, and hopefully spend some money and then leave. So we're in the process, in the very, very early stages of examining that. And with that done, our next meeting is set up for March 3rd at 8:30 a.m.
Very good. Any questions for real property? Thank you very much. Moving on, we have in your possession reports from boards and commissions. There was no ATAX committee meeting, but the Board of Zoning Appeal minutes are with you, and you have the minutes from the Planning Commission. As indicated earlier, and as I'm assuming everybody knows by now, Planning Commission is holding an open forum tomorrow night in this room to entertain citizens' comments, inputs from anybody. On the issues of parking on the island. They will have a short presentation, and then they will open the mic up for comments and input. This is an input gathering session, not a decision-making session, but I hope we have, through the media and other folks, have gotten enough interest to bring out citizens that have a great deal of interest in keeping the city safe and secure for all the visitors that come and join us in the peak of the season. So that's tomorrow evening, 6:30 in this room. So bring lunch if you're hungry. I have no idea how long it's going to take, but we'll stay, or the Planning Commission will stay, and some of us will be here also as long as it takes to hopefully before sunrise. Okay, no other reports from special committees. I'm going to move on to bills and reading. Already in your possession, you have in your possession for second reading, ordinance 2011-1. This was on your agenda for second reading. However, it has been developed that we should have a public hearing on this before we make any formal second reading, so I'm going to defer action on this ordinance until next month, where we'll have a public hearing prior to council meeting where we can take it up. Now in your possession for first reading, by title only, is ordinance 2011-2, an ordinance amending Title 5 Planning and Development, Chapter 4 Zoning, Articles 1 General Provisions. This is for the communication tower and antenna regulations. City of Alabama Code of Ordinances to provide an extension and certain additional requirements for a communication tower. You have a draft in your possession. I'm going to make a motion for first reading and to waive the reading of the draft. May I have a second? Second. Motion is seconded. This, of course, is the first pass at this. It's been well crafted by our attorney and city administrator, public safety personnel, and good examples. You want to tell us anything about it before we?
Basically, what this ordinance does is allows for a public safety or government antenna to be up to 200 feet. This type of antenna would be required to meet all of the other standards that are outlined in the city's code that other towers have to meet, with the exception of the height issue. And the other changes are about efforts to minimize impacts in the fall zone, and also having to withstand certain wind speeds based on engineered criteria. It is set to handle 4 other carriers on the antenna. There was some discussion at one point about whether or not it could be put in place to handle additional ones, so that perhaps the ones that are currently on the water tower could be moved. However, having spoken with the engineering design folks, that would not be feasible as a feasible alternative with this ordinance because of the number that are on there and the proximity of where it would have to be to the existing tower.
Okay. Tim.
On the front page, the first changes are being changed to is under zoning administrator approval A. It just doesn't sound right. Am I grammatically wrong in thinking that should be? Is that correct? Okay.
H is met.
This sounds awful.
Have you questioned the definition of is?
To be or not to be.
I guess.
You can see the depth in which we work. All right, no other comments? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None heard. First reading is confirmed. We also have first reading by title only of ordinance 2011-03, an ordinance amending Title 3 Public Works, Chapter 2 Solid Waste, Section 3-2-5. This deals with trash collection on the island, and it prohibits plastic bags for the disposal of certain materials. I'll make a motion that we have first reading by title only. Second. Motion is seconded. As you can tell, and as Ryan reported in the Public Works Committee meeting, this is allowing us to conform to the requirements of the county now for disposing of biodegradable waste, basically. It has to be put in biodegradable containers, paper or open, or cardboard or anything else that's biodegradable. So no plastic bags. Any other discussion?
Just quick clarification, this does not eliminate the use of containers other than plastic bags.
Correct. Okay, all in favor of first reading, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None heard. It carries. Moving on, this is first reading by title only of ordinance 2011-4, an ordinance amending Title 7 Licensing and Regulations, Chapter 4, Regulation of Alarm Systems and Businesses. The City of Isle of Palm's Code of Ordinances to provide for new definitions, regulations, and penalties. I'll make that reading in the form of a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
First reading seconded. I think we heard from Public Safety in their report how this has developed and its intended purpose. Any questions on that at this point?
I do.
Right.
And I went to the minutes of public safety, but is this going to, I mean, what is this ordinance trying to accomplish? Is it trying to, because it won't stop, or is it just raising the penalty? Or is it saying that the fire department can leave a scene, or is it, I'm just trying to.
Let me jump in there a second, Ryan. What the ordinance is basically designed to do or trying to do is, there are people who, when property owners, when the alarm is going off, say a property owner in Mount Pleasant, they're not responding and requiring in a timely manner, which is requiring our fire department and police to be tied up watching a vacant, empty house with an alarm problem.
Right.
And it's become a problem where actually people have refused to come out and serve and take care of their alarm. So the idea of this is to be able to free up our police and fire people to get back and take care of more pressing business rather than babysit a house because the property owner is just not interested in or caring about coming and doing what they should do as far as address the alarm problem.
And it frees them up because it requires that property owner to show up?
Well, it increases the penalties for that property owner to show up. If they don't show up, it's much more, some people are going to say, well, it's only $50 or whatever. This way, there's going to be more of an incentive for them to do that.
So it gives them, basically it's giving them a time constraint to show up or a higher penalty is basically what the.
Well, it's a number. It's based on a number of alarms, but once they go past that certain number, again, and
Well, it doubles,
what
the
they
fees
need to
are
be able to
doubled.
do is respond in a timely manner.
Right.
And example, use a cell phone and call the fire department and say, listen, I'm on my way. I'll be there in 45 minutes or whatever. But the key is a timely manner rather than have a fireman tied up at a property all night long waiting for their property owner to come and disengage the alarm.
Okay. Any other questions? Nope. All in favor, please say aye. First reading.
Aye.
Aye. All in favor? Any opposed? None heard. All right, moving on. No other ordinances? Any other miscellaneous business to be brought forward? None heard? I'll have nothing to share with you other than enjoy the beginning of spring, enjoy the doggy days, and see you next month. Motion to adjourn?
Second. Or actually, move. I'll move.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Motion second. All right. All in favor, please say aye.